So far, we got Mickey and Southern Ohio prepping in here. So wait for a couple more people to show up here, and we'll get started. Hey, small town. Hey, FOP, what's up, buddy? Hey, moms. Okay, we've got 5 people. Hey, Frank. Okay, so how's everybody doing tonight? Me, I'm doing okay. Um, I had a couple, two, three things going through my head today. Um, One of them had to do with the community here. Um, and I apologize to FLP. I didn't have a chance to get back to you yet. To the email I sent you, and you sent me one back. Um, this is something I'd like to run past you in private. Oh, thank you, FLP. Hey, Nina. I did have an idea. No, you said you're not going to be doing Fridays here for a while, right? Hey, Backwoods. Oh, I'm just starting Backwoods. You didn't miss a thing, man. But I had an idea, but I want to run across you in private first. If you're not going to be doing Fridays, okay, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, old man. But it'll probably be tomorrow. I'll get a hold of you tomorrow with email, and we'll go from there. Because I had an idea. You said about growing the community. I had an idea. I want to run past you first and get your blessing on it, or be told it's a dumb idea. But as I said, I want to run past you first. But yeah, with everything that's happened here, and none of us in the community did anything wrong. It's coming from the outside. We all know that. Um, I remember something before the blow up that somebody said, "Cut off the head of the snake, and the rest will follow." Um, that's the whole thing. Is this community is not a snake. I look at it more like a hydra, the mythical beast, the hydra. Just follow me where I'm going with this. You cut off one head, two's going to come up. You cut off 2 heads, four's going to come up, so on and so forth on down the line. Everybody in this community stand up. I mean, this is a great community to be involved with, and over the with everything that's happened, exactly. FLP just said it right there. You can't kill an idea, diggers. X Nation is strong. Exactly. So, with that being said, this is probably one of the best communities there is running right now. It may not be as big as some, and it's not the size; it's the quality. Everybody thinks I belong to a community that has like up 10 billion people in it. Well, you know what? That's all well and good, but what's your quality like? And I think this community has probably its quality over quantity. That's what makes it so good. And I'm sure you guys will probably agree with me on that too. Grumpy come back because the last I seen he's putting the kid to bed. But as I said, hats off to everybody here and everybody who's not here that shows up to some of the other chats. I mean, hats off to all you guys because with everything that's happened, Nina said it best right there. Fake ass community will not mean anything at the end of the day. Bingo. Hey, Pat. And with that being said, um, this community is poised for great things. Regardless of what happens, this community is always poised for great things. We see a problem. I wouldn't say we see a problem, but we see something, and instead of fighting and bickering, we try to come to a common solution for it. So you guys rock. No, I'm glad FLP is here though, because I picked up a book. I think you might be interested in FLP. This is what I'm reading. Actually, let me change my light here. There we go. It's called The Woodland Homestead. So far, this is a good book. I'm liking it. I've got through the first chapter. I'm into the second chapter here. But I got this. I got the Compact Cabin books on recommendation from FLP when he did his video on it. And I was looking at the Compact Farming. I got this at Tractor Supply, the same place you got your two books at, because they had the Compact Farming one there too. And with what I got to work with here, I think this is more fit to build than the Compact Farming will. But with that being said, I'm still thinking about, hey, Sonny, I'm still thinking about getting the Compact Farming though too, because I do have some land I may be able to do that with. But I think this and the Compact Farming could probably go hand in hand. If you know what I'm saying, because if you have ground that you could farm on, but you also have woodland too, you can make that woodland work for you. And I'll be honest, I've been watching a lot of homesteading videos, some farming videos, and all this other stuff, but I still don't know much about it. So that's why I'm kind of trying to read up on it. I know what other people have done. Hey, Christy. I know what other people have done, but I've never really practiced it per se, other than when we had the horses back here, and that's a whole different ball of wax there, because we had show horses. We didn't have. I mean, I could take my horses out and go trail riding. I used my horse for transportation more than once, but that's about it. We didn't really farm. We had horses, which technically is a farm, but it's not. It's a whole, as I said, it's a whole different ballgame than farming with livestock. These is a recreational thing and not a profit thing, if you catch my drift there, or a sustenance thing. It was a recreation that could be used for transportation. So I'm kind of opening up this whole other can of worms here and seeing what I got. And I'm thinking with the Woodland Homestead, I'm going to work from the woods toward the yard. Basically, I'm going to see how I can make that woods work for me, and then go from there. And now there is stuff in the book about raising livestock, crops, stuff like that. Okay, Grumpy, that's cool. Hey, Pentucky. But to go with that is I'm going to kind of take a page out of Brett's book or Survival Comms, and I'm going to do something he's doing. Is I have a It's not a big tractor. I have a Boland's garden tractor. It's a 1968 Boland's 1050 garden tractor. Still has the original Wisconsin 10-horse motor on it. Right now, it doesn't run. Hey, Mary Beth. And I've been thinking the problem is with the ignition switch. So I'm going to actually get a new ignition switch and start working on that and getting that running, because that's going to be my conveyance when I go back and forth to the shelter I'm going to be building here very soon. The ground actually isn't too bad right now, so I may be able to get a little bit of a start on that. Hey, Mouse. Wait a minute. Hi, Mouse does. But that's going to be the conveyance. I mean, how this fits in with SHTF, it really doesn't, to be honest with you. It's a tractor. But, hey, C. Dean, that tractor, though, providing conveyance, like some people ask, like, how am I going to get water up there? Well, if I can get the tractor running, I can take as much water up there as I want, basically. And the thing with that tractor though, is it comes. I could get a bunch of attachments with it. So let's say it's do get into the farming, I can get a plow for it. I can get a rototiller for it. Heck, I can get a rake for it. So it's not just a garden tractor with. I mean, it's basically a small farm tractor, basically. So with that Boland's, I have a lot of options open. But I said, I just got through the first chapter of this book. I actually started on the second chapter a little bit. The second chapter is talking about tools. But the first chapter talks about like your woodlot, how to take inventory of your woodlot, stuff like. Oh, it's an awesome machine, Kentucky, and I'll tell you what. I mean, as I said, it's a garden tractor, but my garden tractor with me sitting on it weighs 970 pounds. It's not like one of these little stamp steel things you buy now that you can lift up one end or the other fairly easily. Exactly, FLP. And this tells you how to measure what your woodlot, take stock of what you have, what species of trees, what the coverage is, what the basil is. It's called the Woodland Homestead, Kentucky. And I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that I've already found in the book. I'm not even through the second chapter yet. The tools part, I mean, when they talk about tools, they go everywhere from, they cover everything from your basic axe to chainsaws, um, tractors and quads, everything. Oh, it's an awesome book, Nina. I love it. But also a lot of stuff with like your wood on there. That's one thing I'm still working on it. I'm not quite versed in like looking at a tree, especially like this time of year. I can look at trees and tell you it's a maple, an oak, a cherry, and that's about it. Oh, that's a song I ain't heard in years. Holly's had a couple good tunes. But back to what I was saying. But like if you have a lot of Scotch pine, or what they call lodge pine, or lodge pole pine, that's good for making. Let's say you want to make a cabin, you can make a cabin out of that. You cut it, lay it, you're good to. If you know what you're doing, you can cut it, lay, and have a cabin up in no time. Um, what woods are good for what? Like some woods are good for furniture building, some woods are good for dimensional lumber, some woods are good for carving. It just depending on what you want to do. The other thing this book stresses is, hey, coffee. Thank you, buddy. Another thing this book brings up is before you even start anything, get a real assessment of what you have and what you plan on doing with it and seeing if that's actually feasible. There's like a case in here because this guy does like case studies for each chapter. The one family that have a 40-acre lot and they want to do 100% of their heating with wood. And in reality, with the way the property is laid out and what kind of trees he has on it, and the trees that he has do not coppice well. Coppicing is a very good woodland management tool, especially if you're looking for firewood. What you do when you coppice is you have a tree that has a couple shoots coming out of it. You cut one of them, but usually when you cut one of them, like one or two more will come up. So you could keep a constant source of wood going that way. Basswood is good for that. I do believe some poplars, tall poplar is good for that. And those are carving woods. People want to grow their wood for their own carving projects. There you go. You can keep a constant supply going like that. Um, so, but that with the trees that he has mostly like dense hardwoods, which don't cope as well at all. So they found it'd probably be closer to 80%. So he's gonna have to supplement 20% some other way. So I mean, so the case studies kind of gives you a good idea. Yep. Um, like a couple of trees that I have on my property, I did identify when the leaves were out that we don't have very many of. So I don't want to cut. Is I have one hornbeam, or what they call that blue beech, which if you thought locust was hard, you ain't seen nothing yet. Hey, Kaylin. Um, Hornbeam is very hard. Also, we have a bunch of locust. Locust, even dead without the bark on it, will still stay solid. It's very well. Black locust in particular is very good for fence post. Oh no, some of you seen some of my videos walk around back in the woods, and I don't know if you've seen. I've mentioned a couple fence posts. Those are black locust fence posts. And those fence posts have been back there for over 100 years, and they are still 100% usable. They're still hard as a rock, 100% usable, good to go. So that's just looking over what you have on your own wood lot could save you a lot of money, or it could make you a lot of money. So, yes, it is. And black locust, when black locust finally rots, I mean, it rots like that, but it's going to be about 150 years old before it does that. A little bit seeding, not much. We had a couple of cherries. The tops come out of a couple of cherry trees, and the top come out of an oak tree over in the next property. But other than that, I mean, it's these trees were old. Like the one cherry tree that the top came out of was a sweet cherry. Um, and the reason I came out, that was actually a transplant. It was a transplant by way of bird. A sweet cherry tree is actually an orchard tree. And when you use it as an orchard tree and you keep picking the fruit off of it, it never gets really that tall. You keep it trimmed back, it doesn't get that tall, so you can easily pick it. This sweet cherry tree, though, if you let it grow in the wild, it kind of quits producing fruit and just puts all that energy into growing. Because the cherry tree is not, I wouldn't say it's not shade intolerant, but it's not shade tolerant either. falls someplace in the middle. So when the seed gets dropped in the woods, it's hardy enough to survive to make it to the canopy. But once it gets up to the canopy, it starts just cherry so hard it will get weak. Yeah, that sounds weird. It gets hard, but it gets weak. What happens is that the wind blows it too much after it reaches a certain height, it will actually shatter. It'll blow apart. And that's what happened with these. Um, a while ago, though, we lost all of our elm. No, not our ash. We used to have ash, but we got that ash borer here. Hey, Gibson, we got the ash borer here, and what we did is we found out that a lot of our ash was infected with it. So before the trees ended up being total junk, we sold them off. We had somebody come in, they paid us for them, they logged them and took them. But with that being said, though, by having those infected trees taken off, we got rid of that whole blight problem with the ash trees, though. And that's another part of your woodland management. If you have trees that are blighted, let's say you found a couple of trees that are blighted, but you have a bunch more of them that aren't. The best thing to do is, as soon as you find they're blighted, is remove them and get them out before gets the rest of them. And I know a number of years before that, we had a problem with the gypsy moths, but they didn't really kill anything. They stripped a lot of stuff down, but they didn't really kill anything either. So. Oh, Mouse Toast just rules. She just rules. All the honey badgers roll, but Mouse rules. Of course, after Thursday, I'm probably gonna get smacked upside the head, but yes, Mouse Toast, you have a gift coming to you. You should be getting it on Thursday. But read the note first. Read the note first. Then make a judgment. Oh, you got it today. What do you think? But do you see the same thing I'm seeing? Like, I think it could come in useful because not a lot of people have cookbooks, but nobody really has a wild game book. Well, it looks like you actually liked it, so cool. 2 thumbs up. And see what's funny. What's funny is that you like the pen I sent you too, right? Awesome. Yeah, I can't be accused of seeing things the same way everybody else sees them because I see something that. Actually, you got the better version I got. I thought I got you the softback. Here, I got you the hardback. I got the softback, so I upgraded you too. Oh, you're welcome, Mouse Toes. Yeah, because anybody who knows me knows that I go through life to the beat of my own drum. It's not my fault that my drummer's dyslexic and has no sense of rhythm. So, I'm not jumping in on that, moms. No way, no how. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Velveeta myself. No, just no. In fact, the only time I'll even accept Velveeta if it's on the cheap nachos and I'm really, really, really hungry at an event someplace. Hey, Rescue Boss. and that's begrudgingly, but it's either I eat the nachos or I go hungry. That's what it comes down to. That's what it usually takes to get the nachos down too. Get me drunk enough, like I can't taste it. But getting back to the book here real quick, is the next thing I'm getting into is the tools part of it. Like some of my axes that I got that I kind of restored. I wouldn't say quote restored. I kind of restored because I bought them used, like just the head, and put a new handle in it and sharpened it up. Is I was using a bastard file and just doing putting it in the vise and just going to town on it. And this book showed me that they made a jig and put the bastard file on the jig, and then had the jig sub so you could get that 20-degree angle perfect on the blade, and you could swing it back and forth on the blade. Let the bastard file do the work. Now you still have to count how many passes you make and make even amount of passes on both sides, but it's a lot more accurate than trying to do it by hand, which is cool. And it kind of went into the history of some of this stuff too. And then it's like it's fast to me. It's I collect old tools anyway, so it's to me it's fascinating. Okay, Nina. Oh, that's cool. Backwoods. Can't wait to see it when it's done. But some of the other stuff, like they talk about the use of a fro, which I've used mine a little bit. Which when I get into making the shoulder, I'm going to try to incorporate some of these older tools into it. Like for the not so much for the crossbar, but when I put the diagonals down before I lash them, I'm thinking about doing so. I'm going to try to notch them and pin them just for something different, just to see if it makes a difference. Mr. Frodo, yeah, I've got two of them now. But no, it did tell me a couple things I already knew about the fro. Is the first thing about a fro. Um, if you guys never used one, or you've seen one but never used one, the first thing is you do not use a hammer with it. That's a big no. You just don't do it. You use either a heavy wooden mallet or a wooden maul. Exactly. And I see a lot of people using froze when they get basswood or tulip poplar or quaking aspen. Hey, Chris, and they want to do a carving project. They'll get the dimensions of what they need for the carving project with the fro. They'll cut out how much you need, and they'll take the fro and because it has a nice, it's a light wood, but has nice tight grain, so you can get nice straight splits out of it. I'm gonna try that. What happened, Rescue Boss? You sneezed and what happened, Rescue Boss? You sneezed and the cat ended up on your head, or We had a dog like that. You sneeze, she'd jump about 3 feet in the air. Welcome back, Nina. um, some of the other things, like along with the froes, they talk about the buck saw, different type of saws, pruners, a go devil. I never knew what a go devil was. And I found out a go devil was a way that people used to skid logs with either horses or larger logs with a tractor. Callie's on the job there, keeping the floor nice and dry. But I mean, this so the tool thing they talk about brace and bit. Um, they don't talk about the hand drill as much. Hand drills was kind of more of a workshop thing. You could use a hand drill out in. Not saying you can't, but the brace and bit was probably you could get a little bit more power out of it, unless you have the one hand drill that I have. If you haven't seen my hand drill, my big one, which is about I have to back up here. It's about tall. Literally, it's one of them hand drills that you actually can put your chest or put your shoulder into because it has like a stock on it. It's like the original. How can I put it? It's like the original drill press. And there he is. But this one here, it's 2 speed, has an adjustable handle, and the other thing with my, I have two bracing bits. One is a normal bracing bit. The other one is a ratcheting bracing bit that you use with augers. Now, the reason it's ratcheting is if you ever used an auger in a hand drill or a bracing bit, you have your power when you're using an auger. This is your power stroke from 12 o'clock to about 4, maybe 6. Then to try to force it around so you can get back in your power stroke. What that ratcheting mechanism does, though, is you can stay right here and just ratchet that thing and just go to town and stay in the power stroke the whole time. Well, see, I have one of those too, Kalen. I have a regular one that's about tall, just regular hand drill, probably like the one you used. Then I have the supercharged version of it, which is about a foot and a half to almost 2 foot tall. I seen that and I couldn't pass up the deal on it. I got what was I got? I've seen them like at flea markets and other things, and people have marked up like $100 and some, and I bought this one off this guy for $5, and it works better than the ones I see in the flea markets. I mean, it's a little beat up, but it's totally intact. Nothing's loose on it, and I can go to town with it. So, okay, that should okay. I thought you're saying your soul's fine. I'm like, I hope it is. I hope your soul's fine. If your soul's not fine, you may have a problem here. Yeah, my small one I got for like $3. Um, and that's the whole thing. Like with the antique tools, I won't even go on eBay. I go to enough tractor shows and flea markets to fill that niche. It's just like I could go on eBay and get more exact, but once you get to the shipping price and the price and trying to snipe somebody over something, it ain't worth it. I can go to the flea market, pick. Plus, how can I say this? I'm more old school. If I'm going to buy something like that, I want to pick it up. I want to examine it. I want to feel it in my hands. I want to see what kind of condition it's in, up close and personal. But that's just me. I got skinny fingers and I got the same problem. So now there are a couple things I'm looking for on eBay. Is once the weather warms up here, I'm actually thinking about getting my bow back out. And the bow that I have, they call it a cam bow, but it's a compound bow, but instead of having wheels, it has cams on either end of it. But it's older. It's a Bear Whitetail 2. I've had it since I was about 15 years old. Night, Gibson. But I've been keeping an eye on the prices of those on eBay because you can't buy parts for them anymore either. So if I'm going to pull the bow back out and start shooting it again, what I'm thinking about doing is I may buy about a couple, three or four of those bows, so I have extra parts. And actually, what I was looking for was on the cam. There's a piece you can put on the cam that the cable rides into that you can adjust your draw length, and your draw weight. You can adjust it through that as well as on the arms. So, but I'm thinking if I'm going to do I'm just going to do target shooting with it for right now. I may take it someplace because I don't want to experiment with this till I get a couple of them and start experimenting for myself and see what I can do. But what I'm thinking about doing is taking it someplace, have it turned down to about 38 pounds and just target shoot with it. But I did get something for it. Should be right. Yeah. Got me another peep sight. And the only thing I really bought that for is the peep sight piece is still in the string. The hose that connects the peep sight to the bow arm, those tend to break. They get weak over time and they snap. So I got that just for the hose. Because I can't find anybody who just sells the hose. So, but I got this on clearance for $2. So, but where I was thinking about shooting at is someplace where I could get a good gauge of what my distance is. That's probably like the levelest part of my property, which is up in the ring. And the reason I was going to do it up in the ring is if I shoot across the ring, I can use that whole hill as a backstop. I didn't see any widowmakers there. There is one dead tree that's leaning, but it's leaning away from where I want to build the cabin at. So, or the shelter at, I should say. That's why I kind of picked that area because there's nothing really big above me at all. There was on the other property, and I documented it because I've talked about widowmakers before, and I pointed out. Then I went back a couple weeks later after it fell, and what it was is the whole top of an oak tree came down. It was still stuck on a trunk about 30 feet in the air, but it's on its side, but across the way, and it's about 40 foot span. It was stuck in another oak tree. And when the wind finally blew, it finally broke itself loose and it fell. And I mean, it left about a 3 foot hole, 3 foot deep hole in the ground from where it hit at. And it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It like here's the pole here, and this where the tree was. Here's the top it came out of it, and the other tree is over here. What happened was it came off here, it swung down, and when it swung down, it finally put enough weight on that to let itself loose from the tree it was stuck in. It came down and fell back toward where it came from. But that was, as I said, that was over on the other property. Um, as I said, I'm going to go back on and look over it again, but I did not notice anything like that um, above where I want to build the cabin at. I mean, it's fairly smaller trees over there, so I should be good. But out the pool, Wes, I'll be right back. Come on, Bubba. Oh, boy. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, my bladder is like, no, you no, just take care of this now. But okay, I'm back. um, like the other thing I've been doing back here in the woods though is I've been kind of keeping my eye out for what's dead and what's alive and what I can use back here. um, and I found a couple just past sapling maple trees. They're probably about that big around. But there's one that kind of got hit and cracked, but it cracked probably about only about 2 foot up. But the rest of the tree is about 30 foot long, so I could probably get both of my um, down pieces, if you will, or my for my lean-to. I can get the pieces that go on the ridge pole that go back that go to the ground to make the lean-to part. I'm going to be looking for a couple more pieces that I can do the uprights with and the ridge pole. The ridge pole doesn't really have to be the strongest piece, but the pieces that you need to be strong is your uprights and your ankled pieces. The piece that goes across it just kind of holds the tarp up. Mm. You want something fairly strong up here, but it doesn't have to be the most beefiest thing that you could find either. I'm just reading the chat over here. But but the first thing I'm putting up there, and I already found my piece for that too, is I'm putting in a anvil stump. Because in order for me to do any of the work back here that I want to do, I'm gonna need a good anvil stump to do it. There's a down tree back there that I could use. And then you guys see me shoot at what I call the stump back there, that big stump that I shoot on every once in a while. The reason I'm not going to use that is that thing is so punky right now. That's all it's good for, setting stuff on. That's about it. I went back there. I was going to try to do some work. I was working with my tomahawk back here, and you guys seen my tomahawk before. I was kind of making a point on a stick with it, and the first shot, my tomahawk head is that big. I sunk it that far into the tree, into the stump. I'm like, okay, this ain't gonna work. I need something a little bit more solid than that. Yeah, it's it, and that's gonna come. But I need something I can chop on first, because I eventually want to do that. Make a sawhorse, so I could work with some bigger stuff if I had to. But for what I'm building back there, the only thing I should really need is that anvil stump first. Actually, what I'm using, Kayla, is something that's already cut. We had a black cherry tree come down on the trail. That's about that big around, and there's a piece of it that's probably about 3.5 to 4 foot tall. I'm going to take that. I'm going to think it probably about a foot in the ground, tamp it in real good, and go from there. So basically, I'm actually making a stump, because all the actual stumps we had back here are all punky. So, and they were all ash. Um, so I was going to use that for my anvil stump, and that would be a good start for me to do everything else I need to do, like my uprights. There's a couple things I want to try here, because I've seen people do. Hey, Christy. What I've seen people do when they do their uprights is there's one of two ways you can do. Well, actually, one of three ways you can do this. But the best way to do is, but the best way I found to do this, or I think to do this, is I see a lot of people putting a point on the upright. Because I'm thinking about, I'm only going to go like maybe 6.5, 7 foot tall. I was going to go 8, but I think I'm only going to go about 6.5, 7 foot tall and have a 10 foot runner out the back. So what I want to do is I'm going to put a point on the end of it, and maybe probably start with like an 8 foot, maybe 9 foot pole. Probably about an 8 foot pole, and and drive it into the ground. Then once I get drove into the ground, I could tamp it in and kind of plumb it up a little bit. That's after I dig out the base. That's a whole other thing. Because before I put this up, I also want to dig out where it's going to be at, because the ground still isn't exactly level. So what I was going to do is I was going to dig in, level it off, and get down below that root layer. Same thing with where I'm going to put the fire pit at. I'm actually going to dig the root layer out a good bit back from the fire pit. And the reason I'm doing that is to, when I do have a fire, I want to avoid in the summer having a root fire. What happens with those root fires is that there's a loam on top of those roots, but if those roots are dry, they'll go underneath that loam and just smolder for days. Darth Vader. Automatron. I mean, she escaped from one of them scare houses. Did you see it at the amusement park? Brr, brr. Darth Vader, though, I like that. So I have plans. I'm not saying they're the best plans, but I have plans. No, not at all. It wasn't it Ginsburg that said that she was an expert on automatic weapons because she's seen a lot of pictures of automatic weapons? Wasn't that her? Okay, okay, FOP. Okay, that's what I thought. Let's follow this logic for a minute. Yeah, Grumpy pretty much confirmed what I was thinking here. So let's follow this logic for a minute. Her being an expert on automatic weapons because she looked at a lot of pictures of them means that most mid-teen boys should be expert gynecologists by now. Think about what you just said, because you looked at a lot of pictures of them. Just saying. That's how my mind works. I gotta let the George Carlin out every once in a while. Yes, guys, I'm a huge George Carlin fan. God rest his soul. I love George Carlin. Now, if any of you guys ever listen to George Carlin, you know exactly where I'm coming from by saying what I just said. Oh, yeah, he was. He's my favorite bit from George Carlin. Kind of going off the rails here a little bit, but I pretty much said everything I had to say. So we have about 8 minutes to kill here. So, but I'm not going to go through the whole bit. But listen to George Carlin talk about flying on the airlines. It gets crass. Well, there's one part I could say here. Exactly. Just what Mouse said. Comedians have nothing today. Everybody gets offended over everything. He's talking about the airline announcements. They've just landed. Please check around your immediate seating area for any uh, personal items you might have brought on board. So let's analyze this. Immediate seating area. It's a seat. It's a goddamn seat. Check around your seat for any personal items you might have brought on board. Well, what other kind of items are there other than personal items? Public items? Do these people actually think I'm traveling with a fountain I stole from the park that you might have brought on board? Well, I might have brought my Indian Arrowhead collection, but I didn't. I'm actually going to look for stuff that I actually brought on board. It would seem to increase the likelihood of me finding something, now wouldn't it? Okay, that's my George Carlin for today. Oh, totally. But yeah, just George was the man. George was man. I got FOP, and after I'm done here in about the next 5 minutes, I'll be in. I didn't mind Andrew Dice Clay. He wasn't. He, Andrew Dice Clay is like either he's your cup of tea or he's not your cup of tea. I got his comedy, but after about the first couple times I heard it, it was funny. Then after that, it was like, yeah. Um, Another one that I liked was Sam Kinison, and Sam Kinison was, ugh. Sam Kinison could get down and dirty too, or even though he's a whack job, Eddie Murphy. You have to admit, Eddie Murphy was funny. It's Miles, Eddie. It's Miles. You know, I get the out. Ron White's good. Um, no, the only one that I used to like, I can't even stand listen to his stuff. I can't even stand to listen to his stuff anymore because all the stuff he did was Bill Cosby, and as far as I'm concerned, he's dead to me. I don't want to know about him. Oh yeah, Steve Martin was funny too. Oh yeah, Raw was cool. Hey Timo, it's all good. But we got a couple minutes left here. Gibson Girl, Bill Cosby. I can't even stand to listen to his stuff anymore. I mean, after what he did in them women, I'm not one to get offended easy, but that's a scumbag. That's an absolute scumbag. But we have a couple minutes left here, so Nina, tomorrow night is going to be tomorrow night. Honey Badgers is going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern, right? And you're not going to have your normal chat. You're just going to have your Honey Badger chat tomorrow. Okay, so here we go. 7 o'clock Central Louisiana time. 8 o'clock Central is going to be the Honey Badger chat on Nina's channel. Thursday, kind of hit and miss, but Thursday, 6 o'clock Central Louisiana time, 7 o'clock Eastern is going to be Spicy if he's on. As I said, he's kind of hit and miss, but if he's on, check him out. He's cool. Friday nights, we're going to cross that bridge when we get to it. Nothing going on Saturday. If I'm home, I might do something. If not, nothing much going on Sunday, which brings us back to Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern, is going to be Backwoods Law. But I think we may have something on Friday, so just keep your eyes peeled. And I still got 2 minutes left, so hey, I'll ring an hour for all it's worth. You know me, so. Oh man. Oh, Benny Hill. Along with Benny Hill, you had what the other British troop. Name's right on the tip of my tongue, and I cannot remember it for the life of me. Monty Python. Thank you, Backwoods. Monty Python had some funny stuff too. Aside from the Search for the Holy Grail, some of their other stuff, like they had a movie called Now for Something Completely Different, and it's like a bunch of old bits plus a couple of new bits thrown in. I'm sorry, I love the spam bit. I love the spam bit. Spam, 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 and spam. Hey, Ox. It's just a scratch. Oh, Doctor Who was cool. I used to watch that. Run away, run away. But here we go. We're 9 o'clock. So I thank you all for coming. You guys are the best. You guys rock. I'll see you all later, and I love you all. So y'all have a good night, all right? Do-do-do.